Well, a lot of the focus is on the election these days. You can't take our eye off the ball. The Chinese government is threatening to detain innocent Americans that are in China in retaliation for the U.S. Justice Department's prosecution, of Chinese spies that are embedded in American university as scientists and scholars. We've talked about this before with several of our guests, but who better to actually talk about this in depth than our next guest, who wrote an opinion piece, "Whether Trump or Biden wins, China still offers the biggest challenge to our security and prosperity." Joining us now is former National Security Advisor to President Trump and the author of a new book, Battlegrounds: The Fight to Defend the Free World, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster. General, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Sean and Lindsay. Great to be with both of you.
It's good to see you, sir. I'm glad you wrote this. I'm glad you wrote the book, the op-ed, because we've lost, I think, focus on foreign policy, in particular, this threat that China poses us. It's apparently not going to come up at the debate, which is a travesty, because I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the threat that China poses to our security. But the question I have for you is, you note in that op-ed that it really doesn't matter. I mean, explain to me the difference, I guess, is the best way of asking this. Does it matter for Americans who they vote for in terms of how we deal with China and the threat that it poses to our security?
Yeah, I think so. I think Americans have to demand a better foreign policy from our elected leaders. And in particular, it would be a big mistake to go back to 2016. I think one of the greatest accomplishments of the Trump administration was to effect the biggest shift in U.S. foreign policy since the end of the Cold War. And that is a shift from this policy of cooperation and engagement with the Chinese Communist Party under the assumption that, hey, they'll play by the rules. They'll liberalize their economy, then they'll liberalize their form of government. Well, we know that's demonstrably false. What we need to do is compete effectively with the Chinese Communist Party that is not only extending and tightening its exclusive grip on power internally through brutal repression, but is also aggressively exporting its mercantilist and authoritarian model in a way that, if they succeed, Sean, our country, our world will be less free, less prosperous, and less safe.
100%.
General, I got to ask you about this Hunter Biden scandal because it does have a threat to our foreign policy. The acting DNI, John Ratcliffe, just come out and said that Hunter Biden, the laptop was not associated with disinformation, Russian disinformation, which Adam Schiff and the left keep saying this is just a hoax. It's disinformation campaign, which John Ratcliffe has come out and said that it's not. So a two-part question for you. And I do have to note first that it was just announced that the U.S. has charged 6 Russian officers with worldwide cyber attacks amongst all of this. So the first question is, should we believe that this is not part of a Russian disinformation campaign? And part two, if this information on Hunter Biden is accurate, doesn't that compromise Joe Biden and how he would handle China and Russia and Ukraine and potentially others?
Yeah, Lindsay, I think what we have to do is we have to wait to hear from more of the professionals, do a full investigation, because what's so disconcerting for me these days, and what I write about in Battlegrounds is our tendency, because we're so enmeshed with a partisan political fight, we're so polarized these days, it just makes it too easy. Makes it too easy for our adversaries to take advantage of those divides. And it's really important that we not compromise our principles for partisan politics. That both parties did, and I would say in particular the Democratic Party in 2016, right? We have to be really cognizant of that. And in Battlegrounds, I described the campaign the Russians are waging against us as one of disruption, disinformation, and denial. So I'll tell you, if this is a Russian planted information, we should be able to find that out and expose it. But what they do is they try to get compromising information on everybody. And you know what, Lindsay, I mean, this is really important for Americans to realize. I don't think the Russians care who wins the election. They don't care, as long as we doubt the result.
Right.
They didn't care in 2016. And I think what Sean will remember from our time together is the Russians, they had ready a campaign of disinformation because they thought Hillary was going to win. So Hillary Clinton was going to win. And so the disinformation campaign was, hey, Donald Trump actually won, but the election was rigged. Well, as soon as it was revealed that President Trump won, they shifted that campaign to, well, he would have won the popular vote if it wasn't rigged. So we need to have confidence in our democratic principles, institutions, and processes. And, the Trump administration, I wish President Trump would take credit for it. He did a lot to secure our elections between 2016 and 2018. That was night and day. We're even better at securing our elections now based on big changes in the administration. We're looking at our cyber infrastructure, working with the states. It's a very decentralized system to secure the physical elections. But then also, our cyber arms, of our government are much more agile now because we have new policies in place that recognize, hey, to have a good defense from a cyber perspective, you also need a good offense. So we're getting better at this, but we need to have confidence. We need to regain our confidence in our democratic process and in our election.
I think that can't be underscored, that the goal of these guys was actually to undermine the integrity of our system. But General, I want to just get back to the book for a second. You are a man of intense integrity. You love this country. You've served it honorably, and you're actually really brilliant too. The thing that I think is so fascinating about your book is that you really lay out the challenges that our country faces and the threats that we face, but you don't settle scores. And I think that speaks to your character, sir. The fact that you could have, like a lot of us that served in this administration, and yet you see a lot of military officers that have served, that have taken off the uniform as you have, and that have wanted to engage in the election. Just real quickly, why have you chosen not to really engage in a way that a lot of others have?
Well, first of all, Sean, I think today we face a choice, right? We can either get drugged down into these kind of centripetal forces of partisan politics and get mired in that, or you can try to transcend it, right? So what I'm trying to do is to help describe the crucial challenges we face, challenges that are crucial to future generations of Americans, as a way to maybe bring us back together. And then as a military officer, Sean, I believe in this bold line, between the military and partisan politics. And, our founders had that in mind. I mean, George Washington's grandparents fled the English Civil War. And so he had very much on his mind how important it was to keep the military separate from partisan politics. And I respect others' ability to make their own decisions. But for me, even in retirement, and I think it could compromise our military to a certain extent if we get involved, especially in these ad hominem attacks. And what's tragic today is that someone will say something offensive. Sometimes it's President Trump. The reaction will be just as offensive in the other direction, and we just pull ourselves apart from each other. This idea, Sean, this idea that the military would have a role in a transition, that's fundamentally irresponsible.
I know.
If you understand the Constitution, the executive branch doesn't even have a say in the transition.
Anyway, General, thank you for your service to our nation. Thanks for the book. Again, the title is Battlegrounds: The Fight to Defend the Free World. I appreciate you coming on, sir, and sharing us with your story and everything that we need to know about what's in front of us as this election approaches.
Hey, Sean and Lindsay, great to be with you. Thank you.
You bet.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.